as the young man was begging for his life, the television journalists were doing interviews on site with people, asking them what they thought about it. Some were for it, most were against it. And suddenly, from that spanning of the crowd, a man raised his arm very dramatically and said, "I'll forgive him." And when this young man's life was spared, Iran has an Islamic Human Rights Commission, and they issued a statement that said, thanks to the humanity and humanitarianism, I can't remember exactly, of Islam, this person was saved. And then there were other quotes from people in the press saying, we don't need Western human rights. We don't need that at all. We have our own system, and ours is based on Islam and Islamic mercy, rahmat. But there are very few guidelines. So on the one hand, the law, the society, the discourse around murder cases is one where people should be merciful and compassionate. However, there is very little guidance on how to be merciful and compassionate, how to achieve forbearance. And I argue that this is a productive tension. When you put this duty, but without any guidelines on how to carry out this duty, bring it to fruition, you have a productive tension. And it's in this productive tension that we have seen this burgeoning cottage industry of forgiveness work that has emerged. And the moment the ruling is issued, the judge can shift to become a mediator, mianjigar. And I saw this many times, but in one particular case, literally, one of the associate judges jumped off the stage, the platform, raised his hands and said, now we are in the Jalseh Sulh Sazish, the resettlement and compromise meeting, or the settlement and compromise meeting. Another judge made a very swift demarcation by saying, the hearing is finished. Now we are starting the reconciliation hearing. And you can also see a complete shift in the judge's tone. You can see a shift from being this authoritative, scholarly, kind of harsh at times spokesperson representing the state to now becoming kind of like a soft-hearted elder sage, if you will, Rish Safid, who now is saying, listen, why don't you guys talk to each other? Speaking in a totally different tone, speaking in a persuasive manner, even, like I said, shifting, no longer on the elevated platform, now down in the courtroom among the people. So there is a very important shift that goes on from being the judge to the mediator. And I think it's important for the judges to mark that. We're no longer in that legal hearing aspect. We're now doing the informal forgiveness work. The lack of guidelines is intentional. It's not an afterthought, like, oh, we haven't figured this part out yet. No, it's exactly intentional, and it's left open. It's not only left open because you need this to forgive, but because all of the state actors that I ever talked to were very clear on one thing, and that is that they protect the right of the victims.
We really thank you for your time and sitting with us and talking through it here.
And thank you, Dr. Vali Nas and Magnus.
This was very enlightening. Thank you very much. Fascinating conversation.